And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. It is an extra late night here for the podcast or for the show. The Lakers wind up going to overtime in the rare instance where overtime actually isn't free. We're paying for that with our livers. The more Lakers basketball we actually have to watch this year. I'm joined as always
Hey,
by Harrison Fagan.
one of us is certainly.
Yeah, no, you don't. We were actually talking about this the other night. Quick.
By the way, really quick, I just want to say thank you for saying we are live, so that I knew that you were recording me.
we were out. We actually got together with Daman, who actually also writes for Silver Screen and Roll. We were out and we grabbed burgers and stuff, and we were laughing about the fact that I am who I am, the drinker, fat guy who eats anything he can get his hands on, and you are the vegetarian, germaphobe, and everything. We got to go on tour.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty good. Like, if NBC or CBS or whoever it is decides to recast The Odd Couple again, we'd make a pretty they could do that with us as a reality show, because I honestly don't think that we could live in a house together.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that would go. Hey, this is a live show and I'm having some audio issues. Go ahead and go through the box score really quick. I'm going to refresh and you do your thing.
Okay, so the game tonight, the Lakers managed to send it into overtime against the Heat, which was pretty impressive, I thought, because the Heat are battling for a playoff spot. I believe they're battling for the third seed in the East right now. And so to lose to a Laker team that only has 15 wins beforehand is pretty sad. You would think that they would definitely be able to get that game. But the Lakers' young guys were mostly impressive. I thought Clarkson, especially tonight, had a really great audition for the Heat to sign him to that free agent offer this offseason. And on the other side, Whiteside, the often discussed possible Lakers target, I thought also had a really, really good game. I mean, Hibbert shut him down at times, but he was really dominant in overtime, and his screens were really key in freeing weight up on a lot of those possessions.
Yeah, Whiteside has quietly turned himself into a defensive player of the year and Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Tonight playing 39 minutes, 18 points, 17 rebounds, 7 blocks. Those are some impressive.
The 7 block thing is just crazy to me.
Yeah,
he can just without even trying that hard, just get 7 blocks. It's like he's on triple-double watch every night because of blocks.
He's the rare player who blocks shots quietly. I don't know how many players in the history of the NBA that you've ever said, that I've ever noticed and said, holy crap, they have how many blocks? And you don't even realize it, because usually if somebody has 7 blocks, they're everywhere. It looks like they're everywhere. And for him, it's just, I'll just go out and do my thing.
I mean, guys just kind of run into his arms, I guess. He's a skyscraper. It's insane.
Not only that, too, but he had a play tonight against Clarkson that I thought was as impressive as any defensive play he made, where it was late in the shot clock. They had to switch on a pick and roll. He just rotated out. He rotated out and knocked the ball loose and wound up forcing the Lakers into a 0.4 second situation, and they couldn't make the Derek Fisher sub quickly enough. Come on, Byron, you got to be better than that coaching wise. But he's been really, really, really good. And we'll go ahead and switch this up. We'll start with Whiteside. We'll talk about the kids next. But this year in free agency, he's restricted or unrestricted?
He is unrestricted.
Right. So he's unrestricted, and I don't know if Miami would. They obviously wouldn't be in the situation where they could match, but I don't know of many situations that one would offer him
his full bird rights. So I don't believe that they can offer him a full max without using their cap space. They can't go over the cap to offer him a max.
Right. So I think with him, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he fits what the Lakers need really, really well, right? I think my only questions are with him off the court, not that he's, a bad guy or a character guy that you're really concerned about. But I don't know. I just get nervous about giving centers a bunch of money and being the first to offer that big contract. But On
Well,
the court,
especially because he was a guy that basically had like a ton of reported attitude issues in Sacramento that were so bad that despite his talent, he completely fell out of the league, had to go play overseas, made his way back, was playing in the D League, still not quite doing enough that the Lakers had a chance to sign him for the minimum a year ago. They brought him in and worked him out and ended up not signing him. And the Heat did. And then I think he had that 10-block game for them, just coming in randomly off the bench and really solidified his place over there. But this is a guy that, because of the off the court stuff, which is still like, it's murky, it's reported as exactly that, off the court stuff. There are and attitude issues and hard to deal with and things like that. And even the Heat this year, his teammates have criticized him at times. Right. And so there is kind of that background noise. And so you do worry a little bit about giving him a max contract. But real quick, I'll finish up here, is his talent, like you said, it fits exactly what the Lakers are looking for. They have a giant hole in the middle, and talent-wise, he can perfectly fill it. So it's just really interesting to see if their background info on him, they decide that they're comfortable offering him that money.
A couple points. So one, I listen to Le Batard basically religiously. I even listen to his local hour. He's the best radio and whatever personality I think going right now.
Don't sell yourself short. You're pretty good.
Sure. But I think, all year, the conversation has been, do they give him a max contract? Does he fit in with, the Miami Heat culture, which is a legitimate thing being run by Pat Riley over there. And you would think that Pat Riley got the Pat Riley culture from his time in Los Angeles. So, the Lakers are going to be valuing similar post-game or off-the-court type of priorities. So, a lot of the same research that Miami is going to do, I would imagine it's going to be just as extensive, if not more, from the Lakers, which takes me to my second point. And the Lakers, this year dealt a lot with Russell has his arm around Young. Oh, that's a different game. Never mind. But the Lakers, having been somewhat bitten by the Robert Upshaw experience this year, right? I think there's a couple parallels that you can make between those two guys. Beyond the obvious, they're both giant individuals who are hugely talented, and off-court crap took Whiteside completely out of the league, and now Robert Upshaw is completely out of the league. And the Lakers played it smart. They never brought him up, and they never committed to him before they absolutely had to. Now with Whiteside as an option and somebody who, if they do want, they're going to have to fork over a max deal. That's something that I don't know if that'll play in directly into their decision-making process, but it's definitely, I would imagine it's going to be at least a slight factor.
Well, the difference being that at this point, Whiteside is far more talented and has proven far more than Upshaw. But that's a giant difference, obviously. But I see where you're going, where their prior experience now with someone who's the quote-unquote locker room issue, but possibly that affects their decision making going forward. Especially, you're right. There's the parallels there between they're both highly talented big guys that have had a lot of issues with, or reported issues with, attitude.
Right. It's kind of like Whiteside is Upshaw if Upshaw ever got his crap together.
That's kind of Whiteside. I was going to say Whiteside is best case scenario for Upshaw right now at this point in his career. Is he works at he gets in the gym this offseason, works his way onto a roster somewhere, and then eventually gets his NBA call up and shows what he can do. That's the career path for him at this point if he wants to get it together. It's
really rare.
Pipe dream career path.
Exactly. I was going to say it's really rare where best case is somehow underselling what you would hope is actually going to happen there. And that's what the situation is with Upshaw. But we'll go ahead, unless you have anything else to add on Hassan Whiteside and the Lakers. I think the Lakers have two priorities in free agency. One will be, obviously the big man, the hole that they have in the middle. Roy Hibbert did not fill that hole. There was a situation, or there might have been some hope that maybe Roy Hibbert steps in and is decent enough where you can have him moving forward over the next couple of years. He is not that, and he is not anywhere near that. I thought it was funny tonight. Hibbert had 12 points, and people were treating it as, the Roy Hibbert breakout game.
He did have an effect on Whiteside while he was in there, I thought.
Well, that's the kind of guy he's going to. Right?
Yeah. And so it's like, I think Byron actually said it really well before the game the other night when I was there. He was talking about Roy Hibbert is probably one of the top defenders of centers in the league. But at this point, there's like 5 guys that has utility against. And then the other 25 teams can run him off the floor.
Yeah, that's the draw with Whiteside, is that he can defend, or he has the length and strength to defend in the post, but he can also rotate, as we saw out tonight against Jordan Clarkson. He can rotate out and not look like a buffoon that,
I mean, that was a phenomenal play.
That was incredible.
The one that you're talking about, when he came out on him on the wing and then when Clarkson kind of messed up his dribble, he dove on the ball. That was just, and then you see the reaction from the Miami bench, and they're going crazy. And I think that team chemistry wise, he seemed to get it together later in the year there. Yeah, you haven't heard as many reports. I mean, part of it is that they're winning, but you haven't heard as many reports of locker room discord recently as there were earlier in the year when, Wade was talking about selfish players in the locker room without naming names and things like that. Guys were kind of calling him out a little bit without expressly calling him out.
Right. So he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on. I think for me, in terms of the market that's out there, obviously Kevin Durant, but I would hope the Lakers give one meeting there and then don't hold their breath for him. That's where they got themselves into trouble in past free agencies, where they have to scramble after not getting the last guy. But then after that, I would say it's Batum and probably Whiteside as the 2 guys I'd really like the Lakers to go after, or really give a legitimate shot at, and see where it goes after that. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the game tonight. The kids played late tonight. There was obviously we talk about the overtime and all that, fun stuff, but Julius Randle winds up hitting the game winner in a spinning hook shot that
it's going to shock anyone who missed the game, but it was a spinning left-handed hook shot.
Yeah, somehow he got the ball back to his left hand. I don't know if anybody saw that coming, but it wound up working out in the end. It was a very athletic play. I think he's made that move most notably against Draymond Green, where he starts with one dribble out to the right, lowers his shoulder into a spin move, and then takes a power step or a power hop to the basket to create a lot more space for himself. Tonight, he did a really good job of spinning, keeping it under control. I don't know who the weak side defender was who rolled over to contest, but he was controlled.
I think it was Joe Johnson.
I think, yeah, but he was controlled enough to, pump around that.
Yeah, he gave it just the right amount of touch.
Mm-hmm. And he made a really, really nice play. Russell hit a 3 in overtime that was significant. And then also Jordan Clarkson finished with 26 points on the night? Yeah, 26 points on 9 of 19 shooting. I
thought all of those guys made some really good plays in overtime. I'm planning on writing about it a little bit later tonight after I go through the film again. But I just thought that it was a really promising night for the Lakers' young core going forward, especially in the face of all of these reports about the locker room discord, that they just completely put it together on the court, and they really showed the potential that makes all those people that are like, the Lakers have to trade Russell now, should have drafted Okafor. People sound like they really don't know what they're talking about.
It's crazy how that works out. But yes, I would agree. The overtime, and actually throughout the game, I thought, especially when you consider the firestorm that surrounded D'Angelo Russell tonight, getting booed before the game. We'll talk about that, in a second. But rebounding from that and putting together a 16-point night. Sure, it was on 6 of 19 shooting, but nobody on the Lakers shot well. The team as a whole shot 36%.
I don't think anybody on either team shot super well. Whiteside was efficient, but nobody on either team was amazing.
Right. So I think for Russell, it's really good to see him respond as such. And it reminded me a lot of, I tweeted before the game or while the boos were going on, but back in 2007, the Lakers fans actually booed Kobe amid the trade demands. And then by the end of the game, I think he had the ball late and people were cheering his name. And I think there was some MVP chants by the end of the night. It wouldn't shock me. It was Kobe. So there was probably some MVP chants at the end of the night. And tonight, while we didn't get MVP chants from Russell, we did see the fans up and supporting him late. And it's just, how fickle do you want to show yourselves to be? How immature do you want to show yourselves to be?
This is why athletes refer to fans in this like dismissive tone when they talk about them in interview, like, oh, they're just fans. Oh, they're just this. Like, because they know that 90% of people don't care about them at all unless they're playing well. Like it's all great when you're playing well. And like even Russell in the first quarter, he hits an and one. The previous possession, he had been getting booed when he touched the ball. He hits an and one, and the crowd like gives him this cheer, like, oh yeah, that was really great, but you better not miss, you traitor.
Yeah. I saw some tweets about traders and stuff. And actually, you know what? Unless you have anything to add about the kids or anything about the game specifically, we can just go into the
shameless plug. I'm going to get into it later for Silver Screen and Roll, provided there are no like more breaking other news stories later tonight. So you can see my thoughts there. Anyone who's interested.
Yeah, there's not really much to say other than I guess.
They play well.
My one point to say is I think this kind of flies in the face of the thinking that somehow veterans just equal better results in these late game situations. And if that is Byron's defense for not playing kids late, that he wants to win to save his job, it's a logical misstep there, a mishap, because they showed that they can win in that kind of situation, despite being young and not having that experience. So that's just a point to carry forward. And I wish we could have been proven earlier in the year than now. We have 7 games left in the season.
Yeah, well, now you have the same people that were saying he's a really good coach saying that he was in on the tank.
All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into the D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young conversation. And I can't lie, I actually stepped away from the computer a little bit tonight when I heard about fans booing booing Russell for all that stuff. And I think it's probably easiest to go about this in this way first, where I think in general, I've been kind of disappointed with this whole bro code conversation that's come about from this, in that somehow Nick Young has, I've seen him painted in many circles as a victim here, when
the only victim here is Iggy Azalea, which like I wrote last night, it's like, whatever you think of her personally or her career or her art or music or whatever, like, she found out, it appears that she found out that her fiance was cheating on her via a grainy cell phone video. And like, that sucks. Like, just as a human being, that sucks.
Yeah. And I think, obviously NBA culture is a different thing altogether, but I sent out the tweet last night, and I think I bumped it, whatever the kids say you do nowadays. But whatever
the kids say.
I did.
But us damn millennials.
I do think, in which other culture is there a situation where infidelity occurs and the only person who doesn't get criticized in this situation or joked about in this situation is the person committing the adultery or the infidelity? I don't understand it. And I don't know if it's, I don't know if it goes back to Chris Rock saying that you're only as loyal as you have to be, talking about you're only as loyal as your options. I don't know if it stems from that kind of thinking. But
I think that's a big factor in athlete culture. I know ESPN's True Hoop actually had like a really insightful kind of pod on this today. And one of the things you have to think about is, these guys are NBA players. They have access to more relationship opportunities or fling opportunities or whatever you want to call them than far more than the average human being. And so you do have to understand that. And there is a code there, I guess, between these guys. They do take it personally when guys reveal what happens on the road or what happens elsewhere. But at the same time, it's like I still, Nick Young is not a victim here. I understand why he's mad that it came out like this, but he's not he's not a victim here.
Right. I tweeted this out as a hypothetical. I'm not reporting this at all. This is not something that I know anything about, that this is actually what factually happened. But let's just say hypothetically, a female or a woman in D'Angelo Russell's life comes across this video and abides by some female code or woman code, right? And says, you know what? I don't like that Iggy Azalea is getting treated like crap here and is being cheated on like this, and that she has no idea. You never know if girlfriends on and fiancés and wives on these teams communicate or whatever. But if there is some kind of friendship going on there, or it being Iggy, you never know if the person who might have leaked the video is an Iggy Azalea fan that they feel loyal enough to act upon this kind in this kind of manner.
Well,
but what I'm wondering about is, men have this bro code, right? Where we have to, if supposedly if a friend, if I catch one of my male friends cheating on their significant other, I just have to, just let it be, or I'm a terrible man. But if there's a similar female code going on here, which code matters more? And I would say, or I would theorize that if a situation like that did arise, whoever did leak that video would probably get murdered on Twitter and social media, even though it's the definition of a double standard in how this is all being handled. And again, Nick Young avoids any and all criticism for being the jackass who's cheating on his fiance. It's ridiculous.
So the site that leaked it today made a radio appearance, Famous, and I'm a little wary of their reporting credibility, whatever. They weren't willing to put their names to any of it, all of that. So they're like take this with a giant grain of salt. But the actual site that originally leaked the video, the report is that D'Angelo Russell has a private Snapchat, not his public one, but he has a private one just for friends, I guess. And someone in Nicki Minaj's circle recorded this from that Snapchat and leaked it after Iggy Azalea made comments disparaging Nicki Minaj, which is really, really bizarre. But I guess it's so weird. I don't know how someone would make that up. I don't know. But again, you have to take it with a giant grain of salt. This is not exactly, the New York Times reporting this rumor. And the fact that the reporter is willing to semi-out their source is...
That is weird.
A little bit weird to me too, but that's the latest rumor, is that the guy that runs the site went on today and said that's kind of what he posited.
Yeah, I just don't understand this whole the culture of slut shaming, where if Iggy Azalea were the one cheating on Nick Young, I would imagine if it was floated out in the same way, Iggy Azalea would probably get the vast majority of the criticism in that situation. But somehow this
100%.
Yeah, this bro code or whatever that's taking place or taking precedent in all this is it's really outdated. It's really backwards, and it really needs to go away. I think it's a disgusting aspect of our culture that this is just expected talking points or accepted talking points that put men in general in a really negative light and completely materialize women. It's gross.
Yeah, that is a little gross, but at the same time, I don't want to paint D'Angelo as a victim here, because what he did was really dumb and uncalled for. I mean, regardless of what you think of of Nick Young's actions, like to record a conversation between you and a friend like that and joke around. I mean, I don't know. You're old, so you may not have done it. But when I was younger, when I was 19 or 20, me and my friends had all kinds of horrible videos of each other on each other's phones. But the difference is like we do it jokingly and then the next morning delete it. And, the fact that he didn't delete this, or that he put it on Snapchat and didn't understand that someone could potentially see that, is a little bit, I can understand why the locker room would lose a lot of trust in him after that, because these guys, every aspect of their personal lives are picked apart on a daily basis. How they get criticism and they get praise on a daily basis based on what they're doing on a basketball court. People are always trying to find out what's going on behind the scenes with them and get scoops about them. And so when you find out that somebody leaks something like this about you, I can see why the rest of the team would be a little bit wary around him and why there would be some trust issues there.
Right.
I'm not saying that what Young did was right. I'm just saying that D'Angelo Russell was also not right to record this.
Mm-hmm. What was kind of weird though is that at the very end of the video, and again, I'll go ahead and I'll admit to this. If I have to be completely clean on my analysis of the situation, personally, I'm kind of sick of Nick Young on the Lakers, and I think a lot of times I could see if somebody were to criticize me for allowing that to color my analysis of the situation, I would probably admit to, yeah, that's probably going on at least a little bit. But I thought it was kind of weird how at the end of the video, D'Angelo Russell says, "Hey, by the way, you said this all on my camera here, right?"
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
And in that situation, and again, I'm not saying I've ever been in that situation. I'm not an adulterer. I love my wife. I'm not going anywhere. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'd be an idiot to do anything like that. But
yeah, she's way too good for you.
Anybody who's ever met her, the whole Lakers Twitter who was there that night was like, Fred, Anthony, what the hell? But if a video like this was to exist and I knew about its existence, right? Why the heck wouldn't Nick Young physically fight D'Angelo to make sure that that video gets deleted? Unless D'Angelo posted it immediately. If D'Angelo posted it immediately right after recording it and then they had that heated exchange, fine. But if D'Angelo tells Nick Young, hey, this was all captured on video, by the way, Nick Young's reaction can't just be, hey, bro, can you delete it? And then just hope it just vanishes, right? You have to fight the guy to make sure that video is now gone. And apparently, according to that report, didn't they say this is like a month-old video? So somehow,
from December, they said.
So somehow this video has just been sitting on D'Angelo Russell's phone for a month.
Well, the most recent report is that's not how it's that the person in apparently Nicki Minaj's camp captured this at the time and was just kind of saving it in case, something popped off between her and Iggy Azalea. And honestly, the lamest rap beef of all time. Like Tupac and Biggie are rolling over in their graves that Nicki Minaj and Iggy Azalea are beefing.
They're both angry because neither of them have ever said an actual discernible lyric on their raps, yet they sell millions of copies of their albums. They're both buying for that title. But what I was kind of get back to with that Nick Young kind of situation is, if you're going to buy all this stupid bro code stuff, as a man, you have to die to keep that stupid video a secret or make sure that's deleted. And if he's, a lot of people are treating this as if they didn't see the last 2 seconds of that clip, and D'Angelo never told him that he was being videotaped. But
he went super sleuth. He went full like House of Cards, Zoe Barnes, just recording people without their knowledge.
But I think if operating under the knowing or the understanding that he did tell him at the end of that video, I just don't see how Russell is booed and painted as this terrible person and a snitch and all. Steven Jackson going on national TV and saying snitches get stitches. What the hell are you even talking about? That's a terrible message.
Steven Jackson likes saying very strong, likes having very strong takes and then having people share them a lot. I think is kind of what Steven Jackson has found his role to be in the media. Because you remember earlier this year, he said that all those young guys should just avoid Byron Scott and not listen to a word he says or something like that. It's like this guy is not the master of nuance that you're looking for in a situation like this.
Basically, ESPN gave Twitter a voice. Steven
Jackson is a human egg, Abby.
If this ever gets back to him, Steven Jackson.
I'm so sorry, Captain Jack.
All right, so I don't really have much else to offer on this, but I said it. I had to step away from my computer today and just sit on the couch and watch a game because it was doing. I had to do whatever I could to not just go on a obscenely languaged rant about all these 100% character people who are up on their high horse shaming somebody for outing somebody as a cheater.
accidentally.
Accident.
And,
So
it was stupid. Like you did, but like if you spend any time around millennials or kids or whatever, like I'm not even of that generation quite that records everything, but I have younger brothers, and them and their friends record everything. They sit there with their phones out and just like take pictures and videos of each other. I don't know. They find it really amusing, I guess. But it's like that's kind of how he grew up. I mean, and that doesn't make it not really dumb, but it's something that he had to learn was dumb, and you would have liked for him to learn it in a less public way. But I mean, he's certainly not going to do that anymore. And that kind of brings us full circle to Whiteside a little bit with. He records everything on Snapchat. I don't know if you follow him on Snapchat at all.
I'm not on Snapchat.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me somehow. But he's very funny, but he records everything on Snapchat. And that's someone that everybody's saying the Lakers should throw a max contract to. And obviously it's different. He hasn't recorded his teammates doing anything embarrassing or that's going to potentially break up their engagement. But it's part of the culture a little bit.
Right. The only reason we didn't do it when I was a kid is because we'd have to actually transcribe all of what everybody was saying and draw a picture of the scene.
Like paint on the.
We'd have
get out your stone tablets.
No, we'd have to get one of those flip books and just really slowly draw a picture of us.
If you guys ever make the trip out to the pyramids in Egypt, there are some really embarrassing hieroglyphics of Anthony on those walls.
Exactly. All right. Well, and anything else to add on this situation or the rest of the game?
No, man. I think I guess my ending point would be like this whole thing is so dumb. Like it's just dumb all around. Like Young was dumb to do what Young's actions were dumb. D'Angelo Russell's actions were dumb. The way pretty much everyone's reaction to the situation for the most part has been really dumb. It's like everybody just needs to take a step back and I can see why the Lakers are all pissed about this, but people on the outside, I just don't get it. It's like
on the outside, it's a look into what it's like to be an NBA player, right? So that's always going to paint the coverage of this, and then at the end of the day too. This is what blogs and all that brought about. If I want to go full journalism nerd and wag my finger and stuff, but at the end of the day, traffic drives all this stuff. So the people who were covering this or went that far and it's a story that people want to read about. I mean,
hey, it's a story I wrote about. I can't say that I didn't put my take in on it or cover it because it is newsworthy.
And like everything else, it's going to get run into the ground. And there's already backlash from people saying, I don't want to hear about this anymore. I already see that on Twitter. I've sent a couple of those tweets. Honestly, after I talk about it here, I'm pretty much done talking about the situation. It's over now. I mean,
it's run its course. He apologized. You wait to see how Young responds eventually or what the Lakers do with him moving forward. But at this point, the story is it's kind of over. Unless something else happens, I guess.
Right. So, again, the Lakers wind up winning tonight in overtime. They beat the Miami Heat 102-100. That is a terrible loss for Miami, they're in the playoff picture, right? But they're there's the seeding and all that's kind of going on.
No, I believe that they were third going into tonight. Yeah, so they're solidly in the playoffs.
Right, but you want
to a bad loss if they're trying to get home court in the first round.
Well, not only that, but they want to be in that 2-3 spot, right? They don't want to be. You don't want to fall to fourth where you're playing Miami in the second or Cleveland in the second round.
Yeah,
right. That's what they kind of give up by losing to the Lakers tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so the next Lakers game that they'll play is
Sunday against the Celtics.
Man,
we have a lengthy break after today. Lots of time to talk about cell phone videos.
It will be good to get Kobe some rest before his last ever Celtics game, so that'll be good. There's a lot of really good pictures and memes of Kobe all bandaged up on the sideline tonight that made me chuckle a little bit.
He looked like I saw one of our editors, SoCal Gal. She said he looked like the Michelin Man, and she wasn't wrong. That's going to be Zack Snyder's gritty reboot of the Michelin Man for that next series of commercials.
Speaking of, I won't give anything away. I won't.
Yeah, we got something coming for you guys on Sunday, but you'll have to stay tuned to the Silver Screen and Roll Twitter account.
Totally. All right. That does it tonight. Thank you very much for everybody for joining in. Let us know. Actually, I don't really want to talk about the Russell Young stuff, but I wouldn't mind having a conversation on Twitter about Hassan Whiteside. So go ahead and shoot me an @ and we can have a conversation there. It's an interesting one. It's a really interesting dynamic there when you consider the off-court stuff that might be going on. And then other than that, we'll talk to you again on Sunday.
Yeah, good show. Thanks, Anthony.